Okay, I'm gonna be talking about better and worse and shoulds, and like the idea of like mental health and health. So I guess I'm covering kind of like everything, but I feel like there's certain things that need to be said that like I don't know. I feel like the layperson does not grasp, and that their failure to grasp these ideas is just a recipe for a lot of like unnecessary struggling where it just doesn't even make sense. You're struggling over nothing. You're treading in water. You're all struggle is unnecessary. I don't know. So let's put it together. So maybe I could have like put out some kind of a plan on a whiteboard or something before I started recording, but I didn't. And now I'm just playing. And I don't edit these. These are just quick plan talks. But I'll just get into it. So, first thing I'm going to talk about, I guess, is mental health. So well, actually, first I'm gonna cover something large and profound first, which is the fact that the universe has existed forever. So people will go, "Oh, the universe is 8 billion years old," or whatever science has figured out. But it's like, what was before that and what's after that? Obviously, energy cannot be destroyed or created. What exists now has existed forever. These are indisputable facts. I don't know. So, could somebody tell me how old a Christian? A Christian would say, "Oh, the universe, or maybe Earth, are 4,000 years old." And I would ask them. I would go, "Well, how old is God?" And then also, how many years will existence exist? And the answer is always going to be infinite. Surely they are not going to try to tell me that there's an end to existence itself, because that wouldn't be. I think intuitively that doesn't make sense. Like, you can just get a sense for how that wouldn't. If it could have ended, it would have ended. That's what I'm saying. Like, it just would. The fact that there is, and there couldn't have not been anything. Um, because I don't know, because that's just a concept. Because absence is a concept that only makes sense in the somethingness, which some people call nothingness. But anyway, the atoms that make up your body have existed forever. This is a fact. Or the structure of the atoms. The things that make up the atoms, whatever you would call that, that's existed forever. And so, what does this what does this tell you? Well, it tells you that pretty much death isn't real. Um, it tells you pretty much whatever you want to experience, you're going to experience eventually with time. So, if everything seems really fucked up, then it's like, big fucking deal. Eventually, you're going to experience everything. And not only that, you're going to experience everything an infinite number of times. I mean, this is just like common sense, guys. I'm just kidding. But it does make sense if you start to think about it. Where it's like whatever exists as its entirety, when you look at just everything. When you go, okay, here's everything. Okay, that's that. Oh, you got to include everything in that? Okay. So you include everything. You go, okay. And you go, oh yeah, this is something that clearly just has existed forever and will never stop existing. It's like, okay. So that's the starters. And the point of that is, and that could even not affect you. But the point of, as far as how much you struggle, but the point is with that is just kind of understanding the idea of the foreverness and the kind of a recontextualization of time and death. Um, but moving forward, um, the part about, okay, better and worse. or mental health. I guess I'll focus on mental health. I saw I saw a Reddit post where somebody was complaining about being bored, past, like, after they turned 40, and somebody was saying, "Oh, you just have depression," or multiple people were like, "You just have depression," and it's like, what? That kind of like diagnosing somebody of being depressed. I took that and I thought it, and like the idea that they needed to get help. I took that and I thought to myself, I think these are people that believe in falsehoods, and the falsehoods, I mean, so first of all, you look at what is boredom, and that you could spend a whole thing on that, where it's like, what do you mean when you say you're bored? And it's like, well, low energy, kind of a pain, kind of a mental fatigue. But like, I think boredom, a root of boredom is kind of a feeling of trappedness, where you feel like it's not bad enough to really, there's not a problem to solve. So it's like, to be bored, you have to first be in a pretty decent situation. But I think the cure to boredom, this is like, not that, so I guess I should say, before I cure boredom, I would say, boredom is not bad. I mean, what would somebody say is bad about boredom? What would somebody say is bad about boredom? They would say, "Oh, being bored sucks because when I'm bored, I feel bad." Okay, what's bad about that feeling? Or how does it make you feel? It makes me feel stuck. It makes me feel like I'm wasting time. It makes me feel like I don't know what I'm doing. It makes me feel. Okay, what's bad about those? What's bad about being stuck? Is it necessarily bad to be stuck? No, you could be stuck in a good situation. That would be good. Is it? Or you might think that's good. That wouldn't be good either necessarily. Again, all these things have to do with your perspective, and that's what's so stupid about everything. Is what's really stupid is to see somebody who's in a situation complaining as if they really have no opportunity to perceive things differently. And this has to do with society because everyone's reinforcing the same things. But it's like, further, and this is just such an abstract thing I'm talking about that hopefully it's not losing people. But it's like, when they're reinforcing a bunch of stuff, but ultimately they're reinforcing nothing. Because when you look close at these things, you look close at anything, it pretty much dissolves. You look closely at boredom, it dissolves as a concept. You really look at it, you look at, what is it? What am I talking about when I say bored? And then you do the same thing with, you could do that with any concept, or like word. Any word you could do that. Any word. Any word, if you look closely at the word, you go, what is sound? And you just ruin sound for a moment. You go, what is time? And you ruin time. You go, what is self? You ruin self when you look close at it. So all these concepts. And then you look at people's problems. All problems are going to be rooted in words. You go, oh, I'm bored. That's a word. You get rid of the word, all of a sudden boredom doesn't exist. Or you look closely at it and then it dissolves. All of a sudden you've cured the problem. Quote, problem. What is a problem? That's another word. What is a problem? A problem is a thing that there's energies pushing to change. That doesn't really make sense either. I mean, so you're looking at all these things and the natural, I don't know, the natural, once you start to like look at these things closely, the only impulse is to just kind of like, you just kind of feel like somebody gave you a really good pill of some kind. When you start to realize, I mean, at first you might feel nauseous. At some points, so that's the thing with quote spiritual or quote philosophical insight, is depending on like where you're coming from, you're either going to feel a wave of like coolness and bliss, or you're going to feel just nauseous and you're going to have like weird physical sensations. And this that's just a part of it. I'll say this though, when you're experiencing weird experiences with physical symptoms from your insides, the main thing I would recommend is probably to well, obviously you don't have to do anything. Actually, yeah, just I take back the idea. Pretty much. Well, I'm gonna give you a little. I'm gonna give training wheels because I give training wheels to myself. You know, so I'm gonna say this. If it's uncomfortable, then you have to look at it and you go, oh, I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna enjoy this as well. And then you just start kind of enjoying it. You go, I'm not gonna fight. You have to really let up the fight and just root for what's happening. And that's kind of just like, you just got to be entertained by it. And also just, so it has to do with fear. Because like the reason, so, and that fear is a big thing. Ultimately, fear as a word dissolves too, of course. All these words dissolve if you look at them close. That might be the key point of this talk. But as far as fear, it's like if your mind is popping up images of bad outcomes, then you might feel in the moment like you really have to do something. But pretty much you can trust that things are going to pretty much work themselves out. Because again, the universe is just not going to end. So it's pretty much insured is what I'm saying. There's pretty much no such thing as a real risk. Anyway, this is all fairly, I don't know, it's whatever. What I would say is, if somebody is telling you should do something, then they're wrong. And if you think you should do something, then you're wrong. And if you believe anything, you're probably wrong. I don't know. Let's see. Is there anything? I don't know. Yeah, that's the problem. I think everybody has kind of a sense for that. Where it's like, there's some people that are just devout into whatever. And it's like, they have less problems because they're devout about something. Tom Cruise, for example. You have less problems if you have a strong belief in something because then you know what to do. But I think we can kind of see that and look at that and go, what was the reasoning for that? Or are they being rational? And the answer is probably no. They're probably not being rational about things. As far as like they are probably believing things without proof. Or they could just be vibing, feeling what feels good. Again, what feels good? I mean, what feels good? Like, anything can be a good feeling or a bad feeling. It's just, and when you realize, if you understand that, then it's neither good nor bad. But you're still gonna do stuff. Your body and your mind are still gonna do stuff. You can just kind of trust the body and mind to do whatever. You have to get to a point, or you don't have to. hell, don't listen to me. But I think what can happen at a certain point if you, I don't know. I'm saying shit, but it's just it could just confuse people. But at a certain point, you go, you're really just letting the waiter decide what they give you. Because you go, I pretty much trust. I can try. If you understand the way things are, you understand that like getting 100 million, making $100 million is just the most useless thing, and that there's nothing that's permanent. Like if you understand how short life is, this is another thing. Is the whole death thing. If you understand how short life is and how impermanent your current person is, the body and the personality that your spirit or whatever is currently occupying. If you understand that thing is only going to be alive for pretty much a blink and that you could just get cancer any day, I mean, it kind of makes things like money seem pretty irrelevant. A guy like Warren Buffett would give his entire fortune away to be 20 again, and that's a fact. So how valuable is it? How valuable is $100 billion when somebody would give it all away to be 20? Does that mean that every 20-year-old is pretty much a billionaire? Yes, it does. That's a fact. As far as like what people value, the monetary value of being a young person is extreme. This is why old people don't like young people sometimes. That's part of it. Now, I've been thinking of this is like totally this is off topic kind of, but I've been thinking recently about the age demographics. There's more older people right now than there are younger people because of the whole I don't know. I don't know if it was deliberate, but there's been a demographic shift where they pretty much the those in power, I believe, did kind of a population control thing where they were trying to make people feel they were trying to I don't know. It has to do with birth control and developed nations and stuff. But um long story short, there's less people being like people aren't having as many kids, so there's a lot more old people. Anyway, people will go, why are there so many old people in politics right now? It's like, well, because old people are voting. Old people are a larger share of the pie. So it's like it makes sense. As the age demographics go up, then those in power tend to be older. So there you go. Also, maybe it has to do with like a generational thing of those people in those generations just felt strongly about not retiring. Um. Anyway, covered a lot of ground. I don't know what I'm gonna title this video. What is it gonna be? It's gonna be you don't need to struggle or some shit like that. Okay, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and share. And comment a bunch. And share a bunch. And like the video. Okay, thanks.